They want to control you, a phrase you've heard by conspiracy theorists and the like, but what does it truly mean, and what's the purpose of control? Of course, generally speaking, the main groups who are usually blamed are the Illuminati or Freemasons, terms that are being grossly misused to create the modern-day religion of conspirituality, something you see being pushed by the likes of David Icke, Alex Jones, and even Russell Brand. Now, I'm not saying these types of people are absolute liars, since there is a lot of truth that can be taken away from them, but most if not all of these people have no real understanding of what they're talking about, and so their only explanation is nonsense for certain topics. The truth is that although a grand conspiracy exists along with branches of smaller conspiracies, it has been highly diluted with nonsense and fantasy ideas that you see in plenty of other videos due to endless and baseless speculation. These types of ideas usually end up misguiding people, so much so that some of them believe everything is a lie, even to the extent of judging the shape of the earth. This ends up developing in what is now known as a conspiracy theory, and what is important is the distinction between conspiracy and conspiracy theory. The difference is that in order for something to be a conspiracy, there has to be an intention and a goal behind it. Most of the time, people will take one truth from a declassified document and then speculate upon it, which spirals into fantasy, and so a conspiracy theory is born. You'll hear phrases like, "They want to control us." Control for what exactly though? Money? Power, authority? These people at the top already have everything the world could offer, so why would they want to control you? The idea of controlling something is done for the purpose of bringing a favorable outcome, like how a chemist would control the conditions of a reaction to increase the yield of a certain product, or how a farmer may grow some crops inside a greenhouse to make it easier to regulate the temperature and increase the yield of ripe fruit. Why would such elite want to control a mass population? The truth is, they don't want to control you because they don't need to control you. All they have to do is influence you enough to make you think that certain decisions you make are within your best interest. You will accept whatever enslavement they offer because it is comfortable. But there is one question. How did David Icke and Alex Jones promote the conspirituality movement anyway? David Icke introduced into conventional conspiracy theories a blend of New Age and Theosophical ideas, which have long had a close relationship with fascism and in particular Nazism. Effectively, through the influence of QAnon and the advent of the Circus 19 cough, Icke's message is gaining increasing appeal within the New Age movement, who have adopted his right-wing conspiracy theories, such that they have come to identify the left as the enemy of the political and spiritual freedom. Merging their New Age beliefs, they hope to prevent the advent of a New World Order and to assist in an ascension to the utopian promises of the Age of Aquarius, which in fact is the true goal of the Luciferian and fascist conspiracy. Ultimately, David Icke's message, like that of the New Age itself, spells consequences with fascist overtones, foreboding a new Holocaust intended for the so-called fundamentalists of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, who refuse to adapt their old age faiths for the ecumenism of the New Age movement. According to New Age or occult interpretation, the Atlanteans were destroyed because of their transgressions. Likewise, despite their wishy-washy claims of universal brotherhood and tolerance, the New Age warns of a coming ascension when all those who resist the transformation promised by the Age of Aquarius will be destroyed. Betraying these same fascist tendencies, Alice Bailey warned, "Let us never forget that it's life, its purpose, and its directed, intentional destiny that's of importance, and also that when a form proves inadequate or too diseased or too crippled for the expression of that purpose, it is, from the point of view of the hierarchy, no disaster when that form has to go. Death is not a disaster to be feared. The work of the destroyer is not really cruel or undesirable. Therefore, there is much destruction permitted by the custodians of the plan and much evil turned into good." Similarly, according to David Icke, "I do not seek to hide the severity of this period of fundamental change. It will be tough for every one of us. Many will return to light levels, die, in the wake of the physical events and the quickening vibrations. The Earth Spirit is already rising up the subplanes, and through the years ahead, she will progress through the whole frequencies in her journey back to Atlantis and beyond. Those who cannot quicken their own vibrations through love and balance will find themselves out of synchronization with the environment around them. This process is already apparent. In 1989, Icke began to feel a presence around him, and in 1990, a voice told him to look in a bookstore at a particular section of books, one of which was by Betty Shine, a psychic healer. When he met her, Shine told him that she had a message for him from Wang Yi Li, a being who she said looked like a Chinese Mandarin and had Socrates standing next to him, that Icke had been sent to heal the earth and that the spirit world was going to pass ideas to him. Icke decided in 1991 to visit the pre-Inca Silustani burial ground near Puno Puno, Peru, where he became fixated at a certain mound in a circle of stones and felt a number of powerful sensations and new ideas being poured into him. He described it later as the Kundalini, exploding up through his spine, activating his brain and his chakras, triggering a higher level of consciousness. He returned to England and began to write a book about the experience, which he titled Truth Vibrations. Icke wrote that he had been channeling for some time and had received a message through automatic writings that he was a son of the Godhead, interpreting Godhead as the infinite mind. Yeah, kids, see, this is why you don't do drugs. As revealed in a documentary by Chris White called David Icke Debunked, Icke claims to be imparted with insights from a spiritual entity named Rakorsky, who he also identifies with the name Saint Germain. Rakorsky is none other than Bailey's master Rakoczy, identified by Alice Bailey as the master tasked with establishing the Age of Aquarius. Icke calls him the Lord of all creation, saying that he is directly responsible for the changes the Earth will undergo. Essentially, Icke, like other conspiracy researchers such as Jordan Maxwell, Michael Sarian, and Akaria S., is an ardent critic of the Illuminati, but presents the myriad speculations of theosophy as the truth being suppressed. All his main teachings are theosophical. His descriptions of Atlantis in 1992's Love Changes Everything are clearly indebted both to Blavatsky and Bailey. Also derived from the tradition of theosophy is the central theme of Icke's conspiracy theory, his reptilian hypothesis. One of Icke's key sources is American author Zecharia Sitchin. Born in Soviet Azerbaijan but raised in Israel, Sitchin received a degree in economics from the University of London and taught himself Sumerian Cuneiform. However, Sitchin wrote his books at a time when only specialists could read the Sumerian language, and since then, sources such as the 2006 book Sumerian Lexicon have made the language more accessible to non-experts. Sitchin's ideas have been rejected by scientists and academics, who dismiss his work as pseudoscience and pseudo-history, and criticized for flawed methodology and mistranslations, as well as for incorrect astronomical and scientific claims. According to both Sitchin and Icke, humans are the result of a genetic experiment carried out by a race of reptilian aliens called Anunnaki. The Anunnaki are analogous to the Anakim of the Book of Genesis, the fallen angels, who supposedly intermarried with the female descendants of Cain to produce a race of giants. This myth, which was associated with the Jewish Kabbalah, contributed to the development of the theory of the Aryan race. However, as noted by Tyson Lewis and Richard Kahn, while Icke draws upon Sitchin's ancient astronomer theory, he develops it in favor of his own New Age and conspiratorial agenda. Through the encouragement of wars, genocide, sexual perversions, and black magic ritual and sacrifice, Icke believes the Anunnaki release large amounts of negative energy, which is then absorbed by Anunnaki waiting in the fourth dimension. Needing overseers of their human slaves, Icke claims that the Anunnaki interbred with another alien race, commonly referred to as the Nordics, because of their blonde hair and blue eyes. The resulting super hybrids are none other than the Aryans who inhabited Atlantis. Icke writes in The Biggest Secret, the brotherhood which controls the world today is the modern expression of the Babylonian brotherhood of reptile Aryan priests and royalty. Their reptilian characteristics, which top-down control, emotionless, cold-blooded attitudes, an obsession with ritualistic behavior and so on, is directly related to fascist militarism, technocratic rationalism, and racism. According to Icke, the Aryans, like their reptilian forebearers, can also shapeshift and have been Sumerian kings, Egyptian pharaohs, and more recently American presidents and British prime ministers, including George Washington, George W. Bush, and the Queen Mother herself, who was, in quote, seriously reptilian. What the hell? Icke took both his focus on extraterrestrials and the Protocols of Zion from Behold, a Pale Horse by William Cooper, who was associated with the American militia movement. In The Robots' Rebellion, Icke refers repeatedly to the protocols, claiming they were not the work of the Jews but of Zionists, and calling them the Illuminati protocols, and defining Illuminati as the brotherhood elite at the top of the pyramid of secret societies worldwide. Icke's endorsement of the protocols in The Robots' Rebellion and The Truth That Shall Set You Free led his publisher to stop handling his books, which have been self-published since then. According to Nicholas Goodrick Clark, author of Black Sun, Aryan Cults, Esoteric Nazism, and the Politics of Identity, states that it is clear from Icke's book that he is a transmitter of this information rather than its originator, who is then guiding Icke and his New Age following toward the beliefs of the millenarian conspiracy cults. He remarks that the recent investigations by Matthew Kalman and John Murray of the Open Eye magazine suggest that far-right and neo-Nazi groups are exploiting exploiting Icke to penetrate the Green and New Age movements. Political Research Associates has described Icke's politics as a mishmash of the most dominant themes of contemporary neo-fascism, mixed in with a smattering of topics culled from the US militia movement. Icke endorses or recommends anti-Semitic and far-right publications such as Spotlight and On Target. Spotlight was founded by Willis Carto, who was associated with Merwin K. Hart, one of the original founders of the America First Committee. The Patriot movement is considered to have evolved from the John Birch Society, and its opposition to communism, the United Nations, and the Civil Rights Movement, while an insurgent wing has been traced in origins to the Liberty Lobby, founded by Carto in 1958, with promotion of themes of white supremacy and anti-Semitism. Icke has been closely associated with anti-Semitic New Age periodicals such as Rainbow Arc and Nexus, which is financed by far-right activists and affiliated with the National Front. In his book, The Robots' Rebellion, Icke calls Nexus incomparable and excellent. Nexus's range of topics cover prophecies, UFOs, Big Brother, the unexplained, suppressed technology, hidden history, and more. Although formerly concerned primarily with green issues and third world causes, Nexus took up the subject of the US Patriot movement under its new editor, Duncan M. Rhodes. Nexus's British agent, who, like the Rainbow Arc group, was at the launch of Icke's book, and unself-consciously provided further shocking details of this growing anti-Semitic propaganda network. Sitting in Nexus's UK office, he eagerly displayed his copy of the Protocols of Zion, as reported by Matthew Kalman and John Murray in a 1995 article for the New Statesman and Society, and spoke admiringly of David Irving. As he began to describe the global conspiracy, the authors explained he claimed to have helped Icke with a chapter in his forthcoming book, which also called into question the facts of the Holocaust. The editor of London-based New Age magazine Rainbow Arc has steered Icke toward meetings with militant US patriots and recommended Bloomfield books. The same editor has hinted at their manipulation of Icke by suggesting Icke wasn't ready for this yet, referring to a spoof document entitled Further Protocols, outlining plans of a secret Zionism for the Goyim. Rainbow Arc maintains an influential relationship with Icke, printing excerpts of his work and helping to organize his lectures and meetings. The magazine betrays a wide range of far-right links. In particular is Donald Martin of the British League of Rights, who has published in Spearhead, the magazine of John Tyndall, leader of the British National Party, who regards Martin as his ally in opposing immigration. In 2004, Tyndall joined in signing the New Orleans Protocol, written by David Duke, former Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, in an attempt to overcome the decisiveness that had followed the death of William Pierce in 2002. Duke presented a unity proposal for peace within the movement. His proposal, now known as the New Orleans Protocol, pledged adherence to a pan-European outlook, recognizing national and ethnic allegiance, but stressing the value of all European peoples. The protocol was signed by and sponsored by a number of white supremacist leaders and organizations, including Don Black and Willis Carto. The rise of the conservative alternative news sources can be traced back to the founding of the newspaper Human Events in 1944, Regenery Publishing in 1947, and William F. Buckley Jr.'s National Review in 1955. But according to Max Boot of the Washington Post, it did not become a mass phenomenon until the debut of Rush Limbaugh's national radio show in 1988, followed in 1996 by the launch of the Fox News Channel and the Drudge Report. Those remain three of the most popular outlets of the right, notes Boot, but they have been joined by radio hosts such as Mark Levin and Michael Savage, authors Ann Coulter and Dinesh D'Souza, and websites such as Breitbart, The Blaze, Infowars, and Newsmax. Alfred S. Regnery, the son of Henry Regnery, became president of Regnery Publishings from 1986 to 2003. Alfred has also served as chairman of the board of trustees of the Intercollegiate Studies Institute and as the trustee of the Philadelphia Society. In 1983, Edwin Meese asked Alfred to informally head the administration's anti-propaganda campaign when he was in the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. This was despite the fact that in 1976, Alfred and his wife fabricated an incident which they reported to the police, claiming that his wife, who was 8 months pregnant at the time, had been raped by a white male and a black male and had been stabbed. Shortly after the alleged assault, the police searched Regnery's home and found a cache of pornography, including several catalogs for various prophylactic devices and erotica. The police also reported finding a book with numerous color photos of various sexual gratification, including oral sex and placing of objects into the vagina. A German sex magazine magazine and a copy of Penthouse. In the 2000s, Alfred left his post as president of Regnery Publishings to become the publisher of the American Spectator. Alfred was succeeded by Alex Novak, son of Robert Novak, infamous for outing CIA agent Valerie Plame. One of Regnery's publishing lines is the Politically Incorrect Guide, PIG series, which represents conservative commentary of issues such as the American Civil War, the British Empire, the Roman Catholic Church, Islam, immigration, and climate change. Regnery's publishing has had over 60 books reach the New York Times bestseller list. Regnery has also published Oliver North, Sarah Palin, Newt Gingrich, Ann Coulter, Michelle Malkin, Robert Spencer, David Horowitz, and Oliver Stone. Coulter was also published in Human Events, which had also published the works of Murray Rothbard and other pioneers of the libertarian movement. Regular writers for Human Events included Robert Novak, Pat Buchanan, as well as Newt Gingrich, Paul Craig Roberts, and Sean Hannity. Paul Craig Roberts has contributed columns to Willis Carto's American Free Press, which continues in the spirit of the Liberty Lobby's The Spotlight. Writers for the newspaper also include Michael Collins Piper and James P. Tucker Jr., a longtime Spotlight reporter for his coverage of the Bilderberg Group. The AFP focuses on conspiracy theory, nationalist economics, and anti-Zionism. It continues to promote alternative theories to the 9/11 attacks and support presidential candidates favoring individual liberty. However, Regnery has been in the habit of creating bestsellers by artificially boosting sales, a practice that is common among conservative booksellers. Sarah PAC spent $63,000 to purchase Going Rogue, and according to a Federal Election Commission filing, America by Heart was offered to donors with a $100 contribution. Mitt Romney boosted sales of his book by requiring various schools, think tanks, and institutions to buy thousands of copies in exchange for his speeches. When Regnery published Mark Levin's 2009 book Liberty and Tyranny, the Senate Conservatives Fund PAC spent $427,000 to buy copies which they distributed to donors who gave them $25 or more to elect conservative candidates. The Conservative Books Club gave away copies of Ann Coulter's book Godless, The Church of Liberalism if you bought 2 other books. Regnery donates books to non-profit groups affiliated with Eagle Publishing, which also owns Regnery, and gives the books as incentives to subscribers to newsletters published by Eagle. Though Goddess retails for $27.95, a free copy was available with a subscription to Human Events, which publishes Coulter's articles. Together, this network cultivated bigotry through paranoia about political correctness and liberal bias in the mainstream media to channel pent-up frustrations towards what they called the establishment, to denounce big government in order to advance neoliberal policies. This agenda culminated in the rise of the Tea Party, a movement bankrolled by the Koch brothers and popularized by Fox News. According to Alex Jones, the Tea Party was started by him and Ron Paul supporters. The Tea Party was mobilized by the notion of a conspiracy inspired by the writings of right-wing conspiracy authors like Eustace Mullins, who was a guest on Alex Jones's radio show InfoWars. Jones calls himself a paleo-conservative, whose early sources were the Patriot Movement, John Birch Society, and the CNP. In an interview with Joel Skousen, nephew of conservative author and commentator W. Cleon Skousen of the John Birch Society, Jones claimed there's a left-wing CFR-funded conspiracy theory that says some group called the CNP runs everything. It's a total diversion. Absolutely, Howard Phillips and Richard Viguerie are excellent CNP mentors. And Howard Phillips has been fighting the New World Order forever. Although not openly advocating racism against blacks, Jones has nevertheless employed the characteristic argument of the Klan that political correctness denies whites the right to defend their own rights and their culture. Jones has actually admitted on several occasions that he comes from a CIA and Army Special Forces family. Let me just tell you something. I grew up in Dallas, Texas with my family doing things like helping take in East German defectors, okay? Whenever I go to a family reunion, half of the people in the room are former or retired CIA. And do you know what they tell me? They tell me I'm dead on, 100% absolutely right. Jones claims that he's often asked by recently retired generals or former Special Forces colonels or current Delta Force people, some who have been on his show, they ask what intelligence agency he's with. While his answer is consistently no, Jones explains, on the other hand, I do have branches of different agencies actually trying to couple with what we're doing to resist the globalists. And I'm not working with some agency in an official capacity taking orders. It doesn't work like that. It's just people that also want to resist this. It's like V for Vendetta, where everybody doesn't need to get orders, they'll just show up at the same time. Both of Alex Jones's films, Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, and New World Order, have been produced by Disinformation Company. The bizarre irony is that in a Discordian sense, disinformation seems to produce just that, disinformation. Richard Metzger, who is inspired by Aleister Crowley and who maintains strong ties with the Discordians and Chaos Magicians, founded the Disinformation Company to be a magic business and explained, "Magic, defined by Aleister Crowley as the art and science of causing change in conformity with will, has always been the vital core of all the projects we undertake at the Disinformation Company. Whether via our website, publishing activities, or our TV series, the idea of being able to influence reality in some beneficial way is what drives our activities. I've always considered the Disinformation Company Limited and our various activities to constitute a very complex spell." In 2003, Metzger put together The Book of Lies, named after Crowley's book of the same name. Subtitled The Disinformation Guide to Magic and the Occult, the book is basically an homage to William S. Burroughs and an anthology of occultism, chaos magic, and techno-paganism that features almost the entire pantheon of its modern-day exponents, including Robert Anton Wilson, Terence McKenna, Hakim Bey, Gary Lachman, Mark Pess, Genesis P. Orridge, Phil Hine, Eric Davis, Daniel Pinchbeck, Tracy Twyman, and T. Allen Greenfield. Michael Moynihan contributed an article titled Julius Evola's Combat Manual for a Revolt Against the Modern World, as well as an exclusive interview at Anton LaVey, a fireside chat with the Black Pope. Rather than looking for a side to pick and falling for conspiracy theories, aim to get a better understanding holistically of the situation, since both sides are filled with liars. If these people were truly telling the truth about conspiracies, why haven't they been attacked in the same way that was done to Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, and John McAfee? The truth is that they're not exposing anything really, and perhaps they might just be in place as a form of controlled opposition. Either way, regardless of who wants to control who, the only power anyone has over other people is influence, since your actions are yours to perform. I tried to find an interesting verse from religious scriptures, and I came across this one from the Quran. This is in context of the events that will take place on Judgment Day. "And Satan will say, when the issue is settled, God has promised you the promise of truth, and I promised you, but I failed you. I had no control over you, except that I invited you, and you accepted my invitation. So do not blame me, but blame yourselves, and I cannot come to your aid, nor can you come to my aid. I reject your associating with me in the past. The wrongdoers will have a torment most painful." At the end of the day, if they can influence you enough and distract you enough from the truth, you will lead yourself astray as you follow their ideologies and doctrines. Even if everyone were to discover the truth of the end goal, how many will really take a stand? These days, people would rather walk on fake virtue than act on true righteousness. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and share this video with your family and friends. Dislike the video if you don't like it, leave your comments down below and I'll make sure to get back to them. Also, the website will be linked in the description to where all the sources and information came from. Check it out and go show some support to the author, and until then, stay safe and stay knowing.